water companies are polluting our lakes and rivers. Here in the Windermere catchment, United Utilities is dumping sewage across 16 sites, which all ends up in our lake. What's just as bad is that the government body, the Environment Agency, that is supposed to regulate United Utilities, is seemingly not doing their job properly. The regulator is failing. Oh, there's this tree. And it's the wildlife that is most affected by this. Whilst we can choose when and where we go swimming, the wildlife can't. So I'm going to put myself in this river, in the shoes of the wildlife, as I take you to one of Windermere's worst offending sewage pipes. This is an upstream battle. Hey! This journey starts here at the head of the lake. This is where I was first inspired to start the Save Windermere campaign. 5 years ago, I broke my neck in a car accident. It was then, whilst I was in my neck brace, that I started coming down here. It was here that I was following things like otters, kingfishers, herons, and it was here, over a 2-year period, that I started to see this wildlife disappear. As I watched this change in front of me, I started to ask myself, why is this happening? Why are the rocks becoming slimy? Why is the water cloudy? Why is this whole area turning green? That's when I found the United Utilities data that shows just how much sewage is finding its way into Windermere. Back then, in 2020, they reported to the Environment Agency they spilled sewage in this catchment for almost 300 full days.
I've been studying water bodies, including Windermere, for over 20 years. My name's Roger Sweeting. I'm a doctor of zoology. My PhD was in studying fish and their health. The quality of the fish reflects the quality of the water. When you put sewage into a river or a lake, the sewage breaks down, it absorbs the oxygen in breaking down, and a deficit of oxygen will of course not be good for fish. And we do get fish mortalities.
The water companies have been getting away with this for decades. They evade scrutiny by hiding data, and the government watchdogs seem to be turning a blind eye. They've racked up billions in debt and funneled billions of pounds of your money to shareholders whilst making inadequate infrastructural investments. Let me tell you about one of the most stupid things I've ever heard: operator self-monitoring. Operator self-monitoring was introduced back in 2010, and this now sees the regulator relying on the water companies, private profit-focused companies, to inform them as to whether they are in breach of their environmental permits. Basically, the water companies are marking their own homework. Not only is the regulator failing to monitor the water companies' day-to-day operations, but there is also evidence to suggest they've let them get away with breaking the law. Professor Hammond of WASP has conducted research to show the widespread illegality within the water industry. Even here in Windermere, he has shown that Ambleside, Near Sorey, Grasmere Sewage Works and Hawkshead Pumping Station have all spilled illegally. The Environment Agency's monitoring of our lakes and rivers isn't good enough, so we decided to step in.
So the EA monitoring, unfortunately, is insufficient at the moment because their funding has continued to decline over the decades. And so what this means is that there are fewer boots on the ground and there's just less monitoring going on in our rivers across the country. I'm Dr. Sam Green. I'm the freshwater ecologist at Wildfish, and I primarily support the Smart Rivers project by looking at the data from our various hubs across the country. So Smart Rivers is a citizen science project where volunteers go out and sample their rivers and the places that are important to them and can look at what invertebrate communities they're finding, and we use this as a signpost of river health. Fish will eat the invertebrates and otters will eat the fish and birds will eat the invertebrates, so they're just a key component of a healthy river ecosystem. So what we're seeing at our Smart River sites around the final treated effluent pipe is that from the top site to the bottom site, we're seeing a 59% decline in the number of species between the top and the bottom, and we're seeing an 88% decline in the abundance. So that's the number of these insects that we're finding at the sites.
So this is what this entire journey has been about. We're finally here. Just beneath the surface is one of Windermere's worst offending sewage pipes. This is Langdale. This actually discharges treated sewage, but the Environment Agency permit for this pipe has one of the highest phosphorus levels in the entire catchment, and up to 1.1 million litres of sewage a day is allowed to come out of the end of that pipe. It's no wonder that pipes like this are having such a huge impact on our lakes and our rivers. The decline of our fresh water is not only impacting our wildlife, we too are being put at risk.
It was July 2022. I came down here for a swim. It was a really hot day. We went in over here, and unusually, because it was so hot, I swam and put my head underwater, which I don't normally do. Got out, great time. It was only later that evening I became really unwell and ended up being taken by ambulance to hospital the next day. I was quite unwell, probably for the 9 days after it, and then over the summer, just frequent upset stomach kind of thing. So I'm Mel Beamish, I live in Chester, and I am a detective in the police. So after the incident, I contacted the Environment Agency because I was concerned about why I'd become so ill here. They told me that there were 2 sewage pipes and I'd swam unknowingly in between the 2. I provided the exact coordinates of where I'd swam. I sent photographs. United Utilities sent a tester out. They eventually got back to me and told me about their findings, which were that there was no issue with the water, but it turns out that they had gone about half a mile upstream, which was nowhere near where I'd swam. So I contacted United Utilities and made a complaint, and I asked for their telemetry data from both sites. They told me that they would send it within 40 days. So on the 40th day, I received an email to tell me that they wouldn't give me the information because it wasn't in the public interest and it would jeopardise any investigation that they may be part of. So I appealed it. They gave me another timescale. It was around 3 months. They came back to me at the end of that 3 months and told me that they still wouldn't give me the information, and that was that. I couldn't do anything further.
Just upstream from where Mel was swimming is Elterwater, which suffered its own environmental disaster in the 90s.
With Elterwater, it was just too much sewage. So you got a lot of breakdown, a lot of absorption of oxygen and an oxygen deficit. We see a fish mortality and we think, oh, it's the weather. But it isn't the weather. It's us having changed the lake or the river to the extent that it's no longer feasible for that to support under those circumstances the fish and other things that live in the water. It's not just the fish.
So Elterwater suffered a catastrophe in the 90s that killed the wildlife. The Environment Agency didn't do enough until it was too late. It was only after the mass fish death that action was taken to allow Elterwater to recover by moving the sewage pipe that killed it. So illegal polluters are getting industry-leading ratings, our wildlife is dying, and people are getting ill. As our lakes continue to decline, the Environment Agency is not addressing this properly.
People don't like being persuaded, they don't like spending money, and they think it'll all be all right in the end, which is why we're in the state we're in.
We must demand an end to sewage pollution in Windermere before history repeats itself.
Who are we going to blame? Who are we going to take to court?
Next time, it won't be Elter Water that dies, but it'll be England's largest and most iconic lake. We must save Windermere.